to the second episode of the Under the Lights podcast. I am Kyle Parmley, joined by Gary Lloyd. We're here with Starnes Media, producing this podcast this year. Gary, week 0 in the books. High school football season's officially underway. We saw a game Thursday night. Saw some games Friday. How you feeling after weekend of ball?
Little tired, got to be honest, getting a little up there. Maybe knock the rust off a little bit and excited to be in the swing of things. How about you?
Yeah, no, that was my takeaway. Is like it's not physically demanding to cover football games, but when you do it back to back nights, you got to get back in the rhythm of doing that. But yeah, well, I mean, let's dive right into recaps from our week 0 games. Thursday night, we were both at Vestavia Hills for the Mountain Brook Vestavia game. Mountain Brook comes out with a 24-14 win. It's the first game in the tenure of Robert Evans at Vestavia Hills, and Vestavia looked a lot different than they have in years past. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, well, I kind of liken it to basketball in a way. And what I mean is, I've seen so many coaches over the years, especially at the University of Alabama, who have said, we're going to play fast. And then that just never seems to materialize. You're like, well, this still looks like a high post, kind of slow, methodical offense. That was not the case with Vestavia. They only score 14 points and they come up, with the loss, but they were getting after it. Robert Evans wasn't playing when he said, we're going to play fast.
They were getting after it. Yeah, Josh Franklin, the new OC at Vestavia, they were figuring things out along the way as you expected in the first game of the season and with the new coaching staff and all that. But hey, Mountain Brook looked really solid once again. Tucker Crawford had 2 picks in the fourth quarter to really help the Spartans put that one away. So yeah, I'm looking for big things from Mountain Brook, and Vestavia looks like a team that'll improve a lot and very quickly as the season gets going.
Yeah. And one of those Tucker Crawford interceptions, game sealing interception in the end zone. I mean, you can't say enough about that. 2 fourth quarter picks, one of your defensive leaders coming up big. And you're right. That was my word for Mountain Brook, was just solid, just daggum solid. The quarterback was efficient. They had 3 guys running the ball, almost split carries among them. And then, a timely playmaking ability on the outside. Just they look like a force to be reckoned with again in 6A.
Yeah, definitely agree. So keep an eye on both of those teams. The other game we had on Thursday night was down in the Crampton Bowl. Chelsea was taking on Helena. Helena comes away with a 28-6 win. It was Todd Cassidy's first game as Chelsea head coach, and yeah, it's gonna be a tough road for them this year. That Helena team was good, and Chelsea's got some figuring things out to do.
Yeah, I don't have much to add there. Just, I mean, a tough start to the year against a really good opponent, before you get into much tougher opponents in 7A Region 3. Uphill battle for Chelsea, but, they're going to keep getting after it week in and week out.
Yep, you're right. Friday night, I went down to Phoenix City and watched Central take on Hewitt Trustful. Central comes out with a 37-21 win, and what I got from that game was that Central – man, they're really good. And I told a few people that I thought I might have seen the future state champions in that game. Long way to go, obviously, but yeah, Central just looked really good. They're really athletic, and they gave Hewitt Trustful all kinds of problems, especially that defensive line of Central. I mean, they were in the backfield all night. Peyton Floyd just struggled to have time to set his feet, and it was crazy because as much as it felt like Central controlled that game, Hewitt had chances. They scored a touchdown late in the second quarter to take the lead. They were still within a score midway through the fourth quarter and had a fourth down. Like, man, they almost made the stop, and they would have had a chance to go for the win. So the final score is a little misleading, but yeah, it was impressive for Central, but Hewitt was never out of it.
Well, and you don't want to take moral victories from anything, I guess. I guess that's the line. But you might look back down the road if Central's as good as we think they are. That might be a really good measuring stick game to look back on for Hewitt Trustful. Maybe pull some positives out of that as they move through region play.
Yeah, Gary, the game you were at, defending 6A champ Clay Chalkville, I mean, could not have got off to a better start. They take down Briarwood 48-0, and I mean, wow.
I mean, so I led my story with it. I led my story with a question. Had the calendar actually turned from 2021 to 2022?
Right.
Because first offensive snap of the game from Clay Chalkville, 75 yards to the house, and it was on. I mean, just and the thing is it wasn't all offensive firepower. The firepower was there; it's still there. They did it without Mario Craver, who is out, but 4 offensive touchdowns. They got 2 touchdowns on special teams. One where on a kickoff, a guy just ripped the ball from Briarwood, not on the ground, not a fumble, just manhandled it, took it from him, took it to the house 25 yards. Mario Bird takes a punt back 83 or so yards, and then a pick six late. I mean, they did it in every phase, and it didn't seem like there were any cracks against Briarwood on Friday night.
Yeah, so we're not surprised. Clay looks like they'll be really strong again, and but for Briarwood, don't be overly discouraged by that. They'll be fine. They could not have played a tougher team to start off.
Well, and that's what Matthew Forrester, the head coach, told me after the game. I mean, he was down. Not the way you want to start a Friday night. He said that nobody wants to lose 48-0, but you're breaking in a lot of new starters. You've got to surround 5-star quarterback Christopher Vizina with some new guys, breaking in a lot of guys, and that O line. I mean, it just struggled against a Clay front that was physical and fast, which is how Clay's been for about a decade now. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure many teams could have come in there and put up 10 points against Clay Chalkville on Friday night.
Right. The second end of that kickoff classic in Montgomery involved another one of our teams. Hoover falls to Auburn 17-14. That was another 7A top 5 matchup, and it was kind of a crazy game. Auburn jumps out 14-0 at the half. Hoover rallies to tie the game in the second half, and Auburn finishes it off with a late field goal. Auburn wins 17-14. Hoover starts Jonah Winston at quarterback, who's a young kid. Brewer Smith plays most of the second half. Wade Waldrop getting his start at Hoover. They're still, looking like they're going to be trying to get their footing. But hey, I mean, they played a really good team to start things off.
Yeah, and I mean, that game went about how we talked about in episode number 1. You kind of lean on the running back, the experienced running back, Amari Williams. He went for over 100 yards and a touch. And then, it's who emerges at quarterback. Is it going to be Brewer Smith? Is it going to be Jonah Winston? Are you going to play them both? And then the Hoover defense, obviously holding Auburn to 17 total points. It seems like that defense is going to be enough to keep them in games as the season goes on.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. The other Hoover City School, Spain Park, gets a win in Tim Vakakis' first game as head coach. They beat Calera 14-10. Evan Smallwood scores the game-winning touchdown with 23 seconds to go. Really good for the Jags to get Vakakis off to that 1-0 start.
Yeah, and I mean our colleague Josh Gleason with that video of the touchdown, it was awesome to see so much excitement in that stadium because there hasn't been a lot of that the last few years, a few tough seasons. And just to start off like that, a 14-10 thriller in the defense. I mean, we talked about the defensive line. Tim Vakakis is, a defensive, physical, kind of coach. And I think Calera scored on maybe their first play of the game, like an 85-yard run. They only got a field goal the rest of the way. Yeah. I mean, that defense looks stout, and they're going to have a good test this week against traveling to Briarwood.
Right. Keeping it in Shelby County, Oak Mountain starts off with a win. They beat Northridge 23-14. Oak Mountain jumped out 21-0 in that game and really just kind of held on from there. They were just all around, just, fundamentally physical, they just played a sound football game, nothing flashy, just played good defense and got a W.
I mean, it sounds kind of like Oak Mountain outside of Evan Smith, his playmaking ability the last 8 to 10. Oh, wait, 4 years. Sorry.
It felt like that long.
Right. But, a nice win. I think Northridge has, I read it in Drew Champlin's story for 280 Living that I think they've got a guy committed maybe on the offensive line to Alabama, maybe a wide receiver with some high level offers. So, beat a good team, held on late, but the defense kind of did what we thought the defense would do. It's just, leaning on Trey. And if I mess up, is it Vassell or Vassell? I don't know.
We need to figure that out, don't we?
We need to figure that out. Trey, let us know. But leaned on him. He goes for over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, just getting the new quarterback, Odell, some experience and some reps, and just watching that offense evolve.
Yeah, no doubt. The Battle of Lakeshore featuring Homewood and John Carroll. John Carroll scores on their first drive, and then Homewood goes on to score 38 unanswered to roll in that one. That game was played at Samford University, so pretty cool deal. to open the season for both of those teams. But yeah, Homewood is about what I expected.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you probably expected Homewood to win, but game one for anybody, there might be some sluggish kind of play, but it seems like they kind of clicked on all cylinders on offense, and with an experienced group on offense coming right out of the gate like that, they've got chemistry, they know the system. I think Homewood's due for a really good year.
Yeah. And then the last game in our area, Pinson Valley travels up to Florence. They win 34-14. Kiwan Posey, the full-time starter this year, goes for over 300 yards through the air. Lee Guest gets his first win as head coach.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Good to see Coach Guess. He's been there a few years under Patrick Nix, and then under Sam Shade, and done his time and getting his shot. And they go up and get a really good win. I mean, 20-point win on the road, and then they've got a big home opener this week that we'll talk about against McAdory.
Absolutely. So Gary, that's week 0 from our teams in the Starnes Media coverage area. Give me a takeaway? What's one big thing that you took from that first week of ball?
I think I just said it 2 games ago. For me, it was I wasn't there, but reading about Homewood, a team that I've seen a lot the last few years. Get to 6 wins, get to 7 wins. Back in 2018, they were getting 10 wins a season, and I'm not saying they're going to get 10 wins this year, but kind of coming out of the gate fast, and I realize that they're going to overmatch John Carroll a little bit, but scoring at will like that early in the game, right out of the gate, I just think that team's poised for a good season this year in 6A.
Yeah, I guess for mine, I'm thinking Class 7A Region 3. It just looks like after the first week that it's going to be kind of a really competitive region. It's really easy to get a lot of overreaction theater when you look at Thompson losing to the top-ranked team in Georgia, and then Hoover losing and Hewitt losing both to Region 2 teams that are outstanding. But I really do think that the region is going to be really competitive, and particularly for that fourth playoff spot. I mean, after a week of seeing these teams, you look at Vestavia, Spain Park, Oak Mountain, and think any of those could easily be that fourth team, and nobody would bat an eye. So I'm looking forward to Region 3 play. It's gonna be a lot of fun this year.
Well, not to add to that potential overreaction of your perceived top 3 teams in the region losing, but did you see the stat that I dug up on Hewitt, Trustful, Hoover, and Thompson?
How long has it been since they all lost the season opener?
1964. Since they all lost on the same season opener. Hoover wasn't even Hoover back then. It was Perry.
Right.
So
yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Someone had asked me about that, and I was like, I'll just dig deep. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Put it that way. So, well, yeah, and then let's move on to the first Under the Lights Player of the Week award. Gary, I've got a few options for you. We're going to let you guys vote for these on Twitter. We'll publish that along with the video here. But I'm going to give you 4 names. We're gonna have everybody vote on them, and then we'll announce it middle of the week. Start with Tucker Crawford from Mountain Brook. We talked about his 2 key interceptions in the fourth quarter of their win over Vestavia Hills. You move on. Trey Vassell from Oak Mountain, the running back, 22 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns in Oak Mountain's win. Gary, you mentioned Amari Williams from Hoover. He had 131 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. And then you saw Zach McCray at Clay Chalkville, 11 carries, 153 yards and a touchdown to lead the Cougars in their big win over Briarwood. So we're going to let you guys decide who is the week 0 player of the week. And with all that, Gary, I think it's time to move into week 1 games. Let's take a look at what we've got going on coming up. All these games are going to be on Friday night. We don't have any Thursday games this week, at least for our teams. But let's start out at the game that I'm going to be at, renewing a long time rivalry between Homewood and Vestavia Hills. Last year, Homewood won this game 9-7 on a game-winning field goal from backup kicker Whit Armistead. He's a freshman, wasn't expected at all to be in this game, and still to this day, there's some doubt whether he actually made the field goal or not. It was very close. But yeah, this is going to be a really cool rivalry game. You mentioned Homewood as looking really impressive. Vestavia's got another chance, a second straight home game to really see how much they're going to improve with Robert Evans at the helm. So, hey, I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to that one.
I don't think you're going to see a 9-7 game this year.
I don't think so either.
I think you're going to see a few more points, but I mean, just again, I mean, outside of the rivalry, it's just an intriguing matchup. You know, that experience of Homewood and the way they played against John Carroll, and then the flashes that Vestavia showed against a really, really good Mountain Brook team. That's an intriguing game. Can Vestavia slow Homewood down? Can Vestavia, go at that pace and kind of keep Homewood on its heels? That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll add about Vestavia's offense is as fast as they go, it was a lot of running the football too. I mean, John Paul Head was the quarterback, and he did as much running as he did throwing in that game. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really cool to see how that offense continues to evolve as we get going in the season. But yeah, next game we'll look at the game that Gary will be at. Gadsden City is making a visit to Hewitt Trustful, and I got to say, I think this is a great opportunity for Hewitt to get in the win column.
I do too. I mean, I don't pretend to know much about Gadsden City. I know they played Carrollton, Georgia, who I also don't pretend to know anything about. But 69-7 says a lot, it seems like. So Gadsden City, a really tough start to the year, and now you travel to Hewitt Trustful. I think Hewitt Trustful will have a lot to work on. They talk about your best improvement being from week 1 to week 2. I guess it's week 0 to week 1. Yeah. Just sounds so weird,
right?
But I think Hewitt Trustful will get to work a lot of things out, and maybe play a lot of guys, and hopefully for them get that first W of 2022.
Yeah, I think they would. Next game, James Clemens is traveling down from Madison to take on Mountain Brook. James Clemens coming off a loss in their season opener. Mountain Brook got the win. So this will be a game. James Clemens was really good 7-18 last year. So I think Mountain Brook they'll have a competitive game. I believe that.
Yeah, well, was it Gardendale that went up to James Clemens, and it was kind of a shootout. It was like 41-34 to open the year. So I mean, it does sound like Mountain Brook defense will have its hands full again. But a fun, another fun home opener for the Spartans, and looking to keep that early season, non-region against 7A opponents slate going. So another good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelby County rivalry game. Spain Park is heading to Briarwood. Spain Park coming off the high of getting that early win, getting Coach Fakakis his first W, and then you're going to have a Briarwood team that is going to be raring to go after what happened to him last Friday night at Clay. So yeah, I think this has got a chance to be a really good ball game.
I do too, and I just mentioned about the jump from week 1 to week 2 and improvement, and things you learn about as a coach, as a unit. Briarwood's offensive line struggled. I mean, Clay Chalkville's defensive line had a lot to do with that, but Spain Park, their biggest strength is that defensive line. So these coaches say games are won and lost in the trenches, and I believe that, and I think that's the unit matchup to watch is, can Briarwood's offensive line hold Spain Park's defensive line back enough to give Christopher Vizina some time in the pocket, to let him roll out some design runs, that kind of thing, and put some points on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying in Shelby County, Chelsea is going to head down to Calera and play another 6A foe. Calera is a team, they lost to the aforementioned Spain Park team, but this Calera team has gotten quite a bit of preseason buzz. I think they're a solid team, so Chelsea is going to have some of that game 1 to game 2 improvement that you speak of if they're going to come out with this one.
Yeah, not sure what else to say about this one. I mean, maybe it's a low scoring game. I don't know. Seems like it could be, but it seems like it could be, has a potential to be a good competitive game for both teams. So look forward to seeing how Chelsea bounces back in that one.
Right. Another one we've got, Hoover will have its home opener at the Hoover Met. They're hosting Bartlett out of Tennessee. This Bartlett team, obviously a lot of us around here don't know much about them, but they went 6-4 last year, didn't make the playoffs. There was some kind of like weird 3-way tiebreaker in their region.
Oh,
But they were in the state semis. They're a 6A school in Tennessee. They were in the state semifinals in 2020. So this is clearly a program that knows how to win and play at a high level. So Hoover heads home, and they're going to have a tough game.
yeah, Bartlett again. I don't know anything about them. I saw that they beat, I think, a team out of Memphis 32-6
Yeah.
to open the season, but who knows what that means. But opening at the Hoover Met place ought to be pretty juiced up, and just again looking to see how that quarterback play. Who emerges if there's one guy that plays, if they split again a little bit, and just that seems to be the talk of Hoover right now. The defense is solid, the running game's solid. Who's going to lead as a signal caller?
Yeah. Back to Shelby County action. Oak Mountain hosting Pelham at Herdmont Park. So Pelham, they lost to Jackson Olin last week. I think it was like 14-10, really low scoring game. So it seems like we could be in for, a defensive slugfest between two teams that like to play in the trenches and see what comes out of it.
Old school football. I mean, Herdmont's still got natural grass, right? That
Yeah, as far as I
we
know.
they did last year. So
Yeah,
yeah, it does feel like that, and always a raucous crowd out there. Oak Mountain is got to have one of the best student sections in the state,
no
I
doubt.
think, and that'll be a great atmosphere. Crosstown rival kind of thing. Maybe it is a defensive, slugfest, and that one will be physical and fun.
Yeah, so those will be the games that we'll have coverage from, and then Gary, I'll give you three more. Tell me if any of these kind of strike you. John Carroll is going to visit Marbury. I think this is two 5A teams that have been kind of near 500 the last few years. Could be a good opportunity for John Carroll to get a good road win to get on the board this year. Clay Chalkville at Hueytown, rematch of the 6A title game. We just saw that one back in December. But Hueytown is trying to recoup some losses from last year's team. And they lost a tough game to Ramsey to open up last weekend. And then Pinson Valley hosting McAdory. I think McAdory is going to be really, really good this year.
Yeah.
So that'll be a pretty fun one as well. I think that could be an awesome game.
I think so too. I mean, yeah, John Carroll. I don't know anything about Marbury other than they're down in Elmore County,
Yeah.
Deatsville. So a long road trip for the Cavs, but hopefully, again, gain some experience down there, come back with a win, and make that march hopefully toward a winning season in the playoffs. Not quite the same Hueytown team, it sounds like. Give up 41 at Ramsey. Not that Ramsey's a slouch. I mean, Ramsey's pretty good year in year out lately. But Clay Chalkville, the way they started, and seeing that 41 points, I mean that's got to amp them up to go in. And that Clay Chalkville, they haven't been scared of anyone for a decade. They're going to do what Clay Chalkville does, but still a fun helmet game, 6A title rematch. And then I agree. I think Pinson Valley McAdory might be one of the best games in Birmingham this coming Friday night. So that one will be a lot of fun. Coach Holmes out at McAdory now, a lot of experience as a coach around a lot of big schools in the area. So, and Coach Lee Guess, second game. So that one will be fun.
Absolutely. And one final thing I'll throw out at you. One of Chelsea's own, Jake Gaines, now the head coach at Moody. Big time win for them to get his head coaching career started. So, yeah, man, it's just really cool to see football back. We've got what I guess we've really got this upcoming Friday of games, and then we've got college football on TV next Saturday.
Yeah, man, those 411 boys, they hit the ground running under Coach Gaines. So that was fun to see.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I think that'll do it for the second episode of the Under the Lights podcast. Be sure to head to my Twitter page at Kyle Parmley to vote for this week's Player of the Week. We gave you four really good options, and yeah, so follow along. I mean, we'll be blowing it up again on Friday night. A lot of really good games in the area. So, Gary, thanks for joining once again, and we will see you
Yeah.
guys next time.